We just sailed one of the oldest ships in the Royal Caribbean fleet, and we were surprised. Just prior to this, we had sailed on two of the biggest, newest ships in the world. How could we go backwards? I mean, really, they're beautiful. What could a smaller ship possibly have to offer? Why would we downgrade? Today I'll share with you 5 reasons for considering an older ship to sail on, and how my wife and I use this information to enhance our cruising experience moving forward. One of these points can help you cruise even more, cheaper. And at the end of this video, there's a few bonus pieces of information that can enhance your future cruising purpose. There we go. How's that? I had to get in the mood, cruising and all. Free tchotchkes that you get on ships. Well, the newer ones. But we're not here to talk about the newer ones. We're here to talk about the older ones. And look, I got a parrot coming out of my pocket. I'm going to put this back. Point number 1. Smaller cruise ships don't have the disadvantage of being huge. Yes, huge new cruise ships are cool and they can go a lot of places and they have all kinds of stuff on board. But their disadvantage is that they're that big. They can't fit into a lot of cruise ports, whether it's the Pacific or the Mediterranean or the Caribbean or even Australia. Some of these ships just can't get in there. Smaller ships can. They're small, they're diminutive. They can fit right in there. They can bring a smaller group of people into a small port and they can still just enjoy all those things that they would not have been able to see unless they flew there. This way you get to sail in. It's awesome. The other advantage of this small ship size is that they can sail out of home ports that are a lot more accessible to you. For instance, these mega ships can only sail out of ports that are big enough to handle them, like Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Galveston. That's great. There's a lot of people that live near those places. There's also a lot of people that don't. So them getting to a cruise terminal might be a little bit more of a challenge. If you want to sail out of Baltimore, Jacksonville, Tampa, you can. You just have to do it on a smaller ship. But it's probably a lot less travel for you, because if you live in the Northeast, say you live in the Northeast corridor around Baltimore, Washington, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Northern Virginia, it's a lot easier to get to Baltimore than it is to go all the way down to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. You might live in Georgia or Alabama or even Tennessee. It's a lot easier to get to Tampa than it is to go all the way to Miami. And you still get to sail around the Gulf and go to Mexico or the Caribbean islands, Eastern or Western. It's just a lot easier to get there when the port's a lot closer to where you live. Now to us, it's worth a 4 to 6 hour drive to get to the port, park our car so that we know it's there when we get off the ship and we can just drive home. Flying in the day before has presented some challenges over this last year, and that's just one circumstance that can slow down air travel. We don't have to worry about any of that if we just drive to the port. Having a closer port is better overall for your experience. It takes a lot less worry off of your brain so you can concentrate on having fun. Point number 2. The intimacy of a small ship. Now, if you like great big crowds and you like the quasi-anonymity of being lost in that crowd, then you're going to love these big ships, because you may or may not see the same face twice that isn't part of the staff. There's just so many people. I mean, with the staff and the cruisers alone, there could be as many as 10,000 people on that ship. That's a lot of people. You're also competing with those people for space and things to do and getting on and off the ship. So naturally, it's going to take a little longer when you have more people. When your ship is smaller, there are a lot less opportunities for delay. Now, they can still happen, granted. It's a lot easier to get from place to place. It's been our experience anyway, because you can walk a little more freely. You don't have to fight as much for reservations or sitting in an area to watch a show or, one of the game shows that they have for entertainment on board. Now, some of those you still might have to put a reservation in for, but it doesn't seem to be as hard to get it if you're just thinking ahead a little bit. It makes it easier overall, less to think about, more fun to have. And if you're an introverted extrovert, you'll like the smaller ship, because yes, you can still just have a solo experience if you want, and you can be cordial and everything. You don't have to interact with everybody, but it's going to be a lot easier for you to do the things that you want to do. Point number 3. The onboard staff is going to try harder, and this is why. When somebody wants to work on a cruise ship, they apply, and they can have a desire to be on one of these newer, bigger mega ships because that's what's in the press and that's what the cruise lines are bragging about, but you're not usually going to get that choice. You're going to get put to work on one of these smaller ships to prove to the cruise line that you can handle it, that you know what you're doing, that you can handle the tasks, and that you have an eagerness to advance within the ranks of these ships. Generally, it's going to be harder for you, but that's how you prove yourself. What your advantage is as a cruiser is you're on the receiving end of this trying to be better for you. It's been our experience that these smaller ships give these staff more enthusiasm to make sure that you're satisfied. I'm not suggesting that you take advantage of that, but what I'm saying is they're going to try harder to make your experience better. So say you want a few extra amenities for your room. Maybe you need, fresh ice every day, or you need a topper on your bed, or, you'd really like more tail animals, or whatever it is. They seem to be more enthusiastic about doing that. And also the wait staff, whether it's in a restaurant or a bar. It's been our experience that that person is a lot more likely to remember your name, not just because it was on a piece of paper for what your reservation was, but they're going to remember your name. They'll remember your first and your last name, and they'll ask if you need anything new, if you've been satisfied with their service so far, questions like that. We got far more of those checks on us from the staff on a smaller ship than we got on a larger ship. Yes, on a larger ship, it seems that if you spend a little more money, they make more of an effort to remember your name and what your preferences are on things. That's not necessarily the case all the time, but, money buys amenities. On a smaller ship, you're all pretty much the same. Yes, there's different levels, there's different tiers of your status on board those ships too, but they still remember your name for who you are. Our last cruise on a small ship, we just had a modest balcony cabin, and we didn't have this over-the-top loyalty status. We still don't have that loyalty status yet. We're working on it. I'm getting to that. Stay tuned. But they still remember who we are and what we like. Point number 4, the cost. Older ships' price points are a lot lower than these new mega ships because of supply and demand. It's how business works. People are less likely to want to seek out a smaller ship to get on because they're not new and flashy, and they don't have the new ship smell and all those things that you see in all the brochures and whatever. So they have to price them lower to get more people on board. That is a real advantage for you. You can spend half as much money or even 30% as much money and get a smaller ship and go the same places that those big ships go and get the same onshore experience. Get some of the same dining experiences. Get a lot of the same things, but it's going to cost you a lot less. And with that extra money, you can go spend it on extra shore excursions, or gamble in the casino, or buy the drink package that you wanted, or get a couple extra devices on your internet plan. Whatever it is, you're going to have extra money. I'm not trying to sound cheap, but I enjoy making my money go further. And if I don't spend my money on that other stuff, I can take that money and apply it to a future cruise experience on a smaller ship. Or maybe I save over time. Say maybe I sail 3 or 4 cruisings on a smaller ship, and then on that 5th one, we splurge and we spend the money that we saved on that newer ship. So we ended up saving money on the whole experience overall on all of our cruises because of the way we planned our cruises. Smaller ships can help you do that. Number 5, loyalty programs. I cannot say enough good things about loyalty programs and cruise lines. Most of them operate the same way, so I'm going to talk generally about it. There's only one exception to that, and that's Carnival's recent announcement to change from loyalty to rewards, where what you get is based on how much money you spend, not necessarily how often you cruise. But that's a subject for a whole other video, which I'll do. For now, we're just going to talk in general terms. So rewards for cruise lines work like they do for a lot of other things in retail. The more loyal you are to a brand, the more things you're going to get as a result. And for cruise lines, they pretty much calculate it like this. For every night you spend on their ship, say you have a longer cruise and it's 9 days. Let's talk about one of the ones that we took on an older ship. It was Adventure of the Seas, and it was for 10 days, 9 nights. It's not really 10 days because they count day 1 that you get there as being your first day, but it's 9 nights. The cruise line gives you 1 point for every night you're on that ship. So if you're going with a partner, your partner gets the cruise points and you get the cruise points, and they're each applied to your rewards program separately. Some cruise lines will combine those two things if you're listed as spouses, and your spouse can get the same benefits you get if you have a higher tier. Your children can also benefit from your tier status, and that carries through to their adulthood on many cruise lines. I know they do on Royal Caribbean, but it can carry through to their adulthood and you can convert it. If I'm wrong about any part of that, please feel free to comment, but at the last I checked, that actually applies. So these rewards programs. So let's drill down even further. If you upgrade your cabin to, say, a suite, you can get double the points for every night spent. So we took advantage of that on one of our most recent cruises, and we upgraded our cabin to a suite from a balcony. And yes, it costs more, but it didn't cost twice as much. But we got twice as many points applied to our rewards program. So now we're banking all those points. So what do those points mean? That means that for every so many points that you have, you get to another tier in the rewards program. The more points you get, the more tiers that you can move up. You can accelerate this dramatically by sailing smaller ships. And this is how. You can afford to sail that smaller ship more often. So if you take more smaller ship cruises, those same points apply whether you're on a big ship or a small ship. So if on Adventure of the Seas, when we took our 10-day sailing with 9 nights, if I was to try to sail 9 nights on, say, the newest ship on the ocean right now, which is Star of the Seas, it would have cost us almost 3 times as much for the same experience. Now, you can get discounts and you can really shop the heck out of that to get that price down. But as for what it lists, it would have been 3 times as much for the same sailing. And we got the same amount of points. So we actually crossed into the next tier on our last cruise because of those advantages we took a year ago to get those extra loyalty points. This is an awesome program. You need to take full advantage of this. If you're not signed up for one of these cruise lines reward programs like this, you need to, because it's nothing but good for your future cruising. After all, if you can do something, if you can cruise more so that you can cruise more, why wouldn't you do that? Let's talk about some extra pieces of information that are really handy to know about smaller ships. Because smaller ships sail out of smaller cruise ports, it's been our experience that you can get through those cruise ports faster to get on the ship. If there's less people competing for the same amount of space to get on that ship, generally it's going to take less time. Now there are exceptions. There could be something that happens in the port, or there could be some delays that are beyond the control of a regular day. But generally you can count on getting through that cruise port a lot faster. I don't know how often you fly, but I avoid flying altogether. Not because I'm afraid of it. It's actually pretty fun, especially when you get turbulence and everybody's, clutching their seats. I digress. Waiting in an airport is the most terrible thing that I can think of waiting for. Adulthood is a series of waiting in lines. They teach you how to do this in school, how to stand in line properly, how not to cut in line. Now, as adults, a lot of people didn't learn anything in school, but basically, you learn how to wait in lines. So if you can make the experience of waiting in lines a lot better, do that. Sailing out of a smaller cruise port makes the lines a lot smaller. So just do that. Another thing, and this is the subject for a whole video by itself, but I'm going to touch on it here. If you're a casino gambler, casinos on ships work a lot the same way that they do on land. Unless you're a Disney cruiser, and then you're out of luck because they don't have casinos. They still have bars, they still have adult comedy, but they don't have casinos. So I don't understand. Why they don't have casinos, I don't know. Maybe it's just to make more room for venues. But for whatever reason, they don't have casinos. Casinos are an excellent revenue generator for the cruise lines, but you can use this to your advantage. And if you're not a gambler, then you can skip over this part. But you might want to listen because you don't have to spend as much money as you think you do. So say you go on a cruise and you have $500 in your pocket, and that's going to be your play money. Now you could lose it all, but for that $500, if you go on the cruise with the intention of spending $500 to have fun in the casino, I'm willing to spend $500 so that I can have a good time and I can watch flashy lights and I can play this basically adult arcade game for as long as $500 will take me. And I can sit in there in front of that slot machine for as long as I want, or table game for as long as your budget will allow. But I would say bet small and bet responsibly. Using this to your advantage, it works like this. Say I lose all $500. All I'm out is the $500 that I already knew that I was going to set aside to have a great time in the casino. And I don't have to spend it all in one sitting. If I'm on a long cruise, I might go into the casino and say, I'm only going to spend $100 here. And if I win money on, say, the first night of the cruise, I'm only going to spend $100 of that $500. Then I'm going to take my base money and I'm going to stick it in my pocket and I'm going to gamble with the money that I won. Now, there's no such thing as casino money when you win money. All money you win is your money. But it's going to give you peace of mind knowing that you took that initial $100, you put it in your pocket, and you're just gambling with the money that you got over and above that. There's an advantage to this, aside from not losing that $100. So say you do this every night of the cruise. You spend $100, so you have a 5-night cruise. You're spending $100 every day in the casino. Or maybe you're one of these people that bet progressively, and if you didn't lose your $100 the first day, maybe the next day you give yourself a $200 budget, but you're still holding to $100 a day. Same applies. The next night you would take $200, you would bet. If you won back money over and above $200, you put your $200 back in your pocket and you gamble with the money that you won. So at the end of your cruise, overall, you pumped $1,500 into the machine. So the casino program, with your cruise card, is going to say, this cruiser spent $1,500 in our casino. I like them. They spent some money. So I'm going to give them comps so that they'll come back. And there's the beauty of this secret plan. They will send you offers for free or half off cruises, or a free cruise for you and half off your spouse. Some are even you and your spouse cruise for free. And it doesn't have to be your spouse either. You can just go with a friend. But you and somebody else can go and cruise for free. And sometimes you can even get balcony cabins for 2 people for free. And they offer these cruises out of all kinds of ports. I get these offers all the time, and I'm not a high roller. I just gamble responsibly. I've got a budget, and if I lose it, that's fine. Most of the time, I don't. For some reason, my wife ends up making out better than me on most cruises, but that's okay, because the gambling budget for me is entertainment. Anyway, I digress. We get offers to sail out of ports like Baltimore and Port Canaveral and Fort Lauderdale and Miami and Tampa and Galveston and even Los Angeles. These cruises are available to us at any of those ports. And they're decent cruises too. They've got good itineraries. The last sailing that we took was on Enchantment of the Seas out of Tampa. Small ship. We had a great time. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link to it and down below in the description. We had a great time on that ship. That cruise we got for half off. The extra money that we saved, we spent on an upgrade to a balcony room. We got an upgrade to what Royal Caribbean calls the Key program. Now, any of you who know what that is and don't like it, that's fine. But to us, it was an advantage because we get a free lunch on our first day on board, which is actually from their Chops Steakhouse Grill, which was awesome. We get priority luggage handling on and off board the ship, and I'll explain why that's good in a minute. We got free internet, 1 device for each of us on the cruise. So we saved all kinds of money by just using a little bit of that money we saved and did this upgrade. The advantages of that luggage program, by the way, with the Key program, is that when you're on board and you wheel on all your carry-ons, they have a table where you can show up with your carry-on and you can just keep with you what you want. And they will take your carry-on to your room for you even before it's ready. So you just keep on you what you need, like your ID and your money and your credit card and your medicine, whatever you got. Change of clothes if you're getting in the pool. But all the heavier stuff you can just give to them and they'll just take it to your room for you. The other advantage of that luggage is on debarkation day, I don't know if you think of debarkation the same way that we do, aside from the fact that they make you leave the ship. When you get in the terminal, you have to find your luggage. Now they put it in areas for you to find, but if there are thousands of people with luggage to find in those areas getting off the ship, it's not like they come around a carousel like they do in an airport. They're on these huge racks, these gorilla racks, or they're just sitting in rows on the floor, and you have to find your suitcase and then wheel it away. If you have the Key program, all the Key members have their luggage in a separate spot, and there are far fewer Key members than there are everybody else in the ship. So this last cruise, because we were Key members, we went to a much smaller area, found our luggage right away, and got right out of the terminal. Wheeled it out to our vehicle, off we went. It's awesome. So this isn't about the Key program or the benefits of that. I'm just saying that was a great advantage. It's something that we used the casino benefits so that we could buy that Key program to have a better experience. What you can take away from all these key points is that your next cruise might be your first cruise. It might be one of many cruises that you've already been on. Maybe you never tried a small ship, or maybe you want to try again. Maybe you had a bad experience on a small ship, but you have to look at it with an open mind. Yes, it's an older ship. Yes, it's going to show a little bit of signs of age, And I always enjoy seeing the decorations that they had 20 years ago on any ship. It's just very entertaining. But it's not going to stop me from having a good time. You get to go on a ship. You get to go in the ocean. You get to go to a foreign country and experience new things. And if the kind of vehicle that you took to get there is just different than what you think you need, you're overlooking the bigger picture. You still get to experience all that stuff to a lesser degree, but you still get to go all those places and do all those things and have all that fun. You have to look at this with an open mind. Fun is what you make it, and it's available anywhere you go. So why not go on a smaller ship to get the same thing? We have lots of other videos on our channel, so please check them out. I'll put the links to the ones that I mentioned down below so that you can take advantage of those too. But we've got videos for Mariner of the Seas and Adventure of the Seas, and our most recent small ship, Enchantment of the Seas. Loved them. We loved those cruises. We had a great time. Yes, we've been on newer ships too, so if you want to see videos about those, we've been on Utopia, we've been on Star. We love that too. But we took advantage of the smaller ships to save our money so that we could sail on the bigger ships. So watch those videos too. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot for watching.